Okay, let's take it out. Gold, Moira, and Zen. You're running Mercy, Zen, Ryan, Zarya. Not a bad comp. Actually, a pretty decent comp. This is pretty decent depending on the map. So let's take a look and see how she goes.
Where are you guys?
Oh man, those are some, like, I love the confidence. This is also, so there's a few things that I can tell from your play, like, right off the bat. The first one is you're really aggressively positioned forward right by this billboard, and you've got the audacity to try and 5-orb a Pharah out of the sky from like 60 meters away. Oh, okay, also, I'm just going to say this. Majesty, the support player for GOATs, during Team Canada tryouts, 5-orbed a Pharah on Lijiang Gardens from, I swear, like 100, 120 meters away. It was insane. I'll say that one. Yeah, Majesty. So the GOATS support player, 5-orbed. I don't even remember who was playing Pharah. It was like from spawn to like halfway point on the map, 5-orbed the Pharah. It was crazy. We were just... Yeah, it was a nutty shot, but shit like that, even at the highest level, like in the Team Canada tryouts, nobody would have expected that to happen. Like 5-orbiting a Pharah from this range, very difficult. That support that dies every team fight, oof, oof. Majesty's getting a bad reputation, is he?
Breaks Ryan, Discord. Discord,
So far, I like this. Very aggressive, but not a flanking style on Zenyatta. Good use of right clicks when you are taking cover. You're charging your right clicks back up. This is very good for gold so far.
Fuck. Mercy, why would you res that? Alright, group up.
Yep.
Some of us are gonna get the shitty spawn, so don't engage.
And you're even shot calling. I like this. So far, if you had been like, I'm diamond, I'd been like, okay.
Discord soldier.
Now, one of the things about characters that don't have vertical mobility is the thing that I will constantly harp on people on. And like, yes, get the high ground is really kind of like a lowbrow piece of advice for people. Everybody knows that high ground is important, that you should use it. But a lot of the things that people... Even if high ground doesn't provide like that big of a benefit here, if you want to be in this location where you are right now, you can get into this location by just dropping off of the high ground. But you can't get from here to the high ground if you just suddenly decide that, oh, I do want to be up there. So repositioning to the high ground, especially when you have the time to rotate early since you don't have mobility, is pretty important. You being on this high ground would give you a second angle, because right now your McCree is here and your second DPS is...
Someone up top.
In fucking Narnia, I guess. Oh, he's a Tracer now. He used to be a Junkrat. Now he's a Tracer. So, with your McCree playing behind the shield, if you had just been a little bit of elevated, you could have been putting orbs into the backline just over the top of the Reinhardt shield. That would get you Transcendence faster. Of course, you already have Transcendence because you were doing really good work on this first point here. But the position that you took on second here didn't allow you to really contribute as much as you maybe could have otherwise. So it looks like you've got good mechanics, at least for a gold player so far. But your positioning on first, I interpreted as aggressive, but maybe it's just like... So you had very aggressive positioning on first, but very limiting positioning on second. So I'll kind of have to pay attention to more how you're positioning yourself. Because especially on characters that don't have mobility, like Zen... No wall climb, no dash, no roll. Even McCree is a higher mobility character than Zenyatta. You really, really, really need to put thought into how you're positioning. And if you've seen any of my Zenyatta reviews in the past, you know that I like to consider 3 main factors for Zenyatta. Cover, which you have. However, there's also hoodoos on the high ground, and the high ground itself can act as a form of cover. It can't act from Pharah, but if the Pharah does get on you, you can drop and go to the position you're at. So cover, I'll give you like a half a mark for, because it's fine where you are. You're very heavily in cover, but it's not cover that actually allows you to actually provide any value. You know, it's the same way as if you'd just been staying in spawn. You're like, I've got great cover. You're in spawn. You also can't do shit. Like, you're not going to die, but you also can't do shit. So you need a nice balance of being safe while still able to be like contributing. The second thing that you want is that there's a health pack near you, especially in solo queue, so that if you do get 1v1'd by something, you can use that to give yourself extra health. Imagine if Papa Jeff comes out tomorrow and says, hey guys, we decided that Zenyatta is too weak. We're actually giving him 75 extra HP. Zenyatta is now going to be a 275 HP hero. The forums would melt down. People would just be pissed off. That's the most overpowered bullshit I've ever heard. Blizzard, what the hell are you doing? And you can do the exact same thing as Blizzard would just do there, except just stand next to a mini or have a mini somewhere that you can retreat onto, and suddenly you're a 275 HP Zenyatta. So try and give yourself every single advantage you can. And the third thing, of course, is your route of retreat. You either want your route of retreat from the position you take to take you to your team, to cover, or to a health pack, and preferably 2 of the 3. But right now, where is your route of retreat from this position? It's into the fucking street. Right in the line of sight of literally everyone. So this is a terrible position to be in for all the reasons that I listed above.
I got it.
Chat, what's wrong with this transcendence? Who said it? Pavlov would be proud? My boy, Spicy Beans. Spicy Beans knows exactly what I was going to say. Pavlov would be proud. You heard the visor and you're like, that's a DPS ultimate. I am a support. I have a defensive ultimate. I am a glowy boy. Grow arms and glow. Woo! Look at me, look at me. Okay, so there's a few things about your ultimate here. So, yes, Zenyatta's Transcendence can counter Visor. In the same way, it can counter Graviton. It can counter Dragon Blade. It can counter Earthshatter. It can counter a fuck ton of things. It can assist against Barrage. It can't do much against Damage Boosted Dragon, but is Zenyatta the only way you can outplay these abilities? No, right? So the soldier is using his Tactical Visor, and unless you're using your Transcendence to actually go and kill that soldier, you can counter him by just being like, hey, look, a wall. I am going to take one step to the right. I am now safe. Woo! You got the same value out of pressing Q as you did taking 2 steps to the right. Nobody else on your team was in danger or in the open of dying to that visor. This Tracer might because she's a bit aggressive. But the rest of your team had a shield, had bubbles, and had cover. So if you don't need your ultimate to actually counter the offensive ultimate, then don't use it. You counter it in the ways of using cover, superior positioning, focusing fire, anything like that. And then even this, I feel like if you're transcending in this sort of situation, you're also the kind of person who's probably going to blow Transcendence when an opposing Genji ults to get play of the game. Like, if a Genji gets 3, for example, and then sees 3 more targets remaining and he's got Blade, he's going to be like, play of the game, here I come! Ryu should know karaoke, and just bash people with his weeb stick. He's going to get the 6k and it's going to look super fucking awesome. Except you're going to be like, no play of the game for you. And you're going to transcend. And then you're going to save your 2 remaining teammates. And then Genji's going to be like, no, damn glowy boys. And then you're going to be like, okay, I'm done. And then it's still going to be a 6v3 and you're going to fucking die. So in this case, the Genji would have wasted his blade, but he didn't because you gave his blade value by trancing, but not getting value out of your trance. So if for some reason teams start playing for the play of the game, don't try and prevent an opponent from getting a play of the game. You don't give a shit. Play of the games don't win games. Play of the games usually, especially at the lower elos, means you over-ulted. Usually. So if the Genji has already killed 3 and then pulls out his Dragon Blade to get the 6k, be like, then come back, pop trance when they don't have anything, and just wipe them. You won't get a play of the game, but you'll win the actual game, win the objective. So a lot more thought needs to go into using your glowy boy mode other than hearing angry voice lines in foreign languages. So consider the situation, and when you do have your transcendence, think in advance in what situations you're going to use that transcendence. And if you know that the opponent has a soldier, maybe you should start playing nearer to cover where no matter if he visors or flank visors, you'll still be safe. Interdasting. Very
Drop your shield, drop your
interdasting.
shield. Ryan behind is going for shadow.
What? What did I just see?
Soldier left. He's low.
Yeah, soldier.
Discorded.
What?
Drop your shield, drop your shield.
Hi, Zenyatta. Hi, Ryan.
Ryan behind
Nice
is
try.
going.
Bye, Ryan. Bye,
Shut
Zenyatta. What? Is he just doing a coast-to-coast comeback tour? What the fuck was that?
Soldier
I
left.
thought it was going to be a
Soldier
flag
discorded.
shatter, and then he just charged up the staircase. Oh my goodness.
Discord Diva.
Need some healing?
You don't need healing, you need Jesus.
Don't go in, don't go in. Just group up.
Wait a second. Wait a second here.
Discord soldier.
You gave up all... Did you at any point during this fight contest the payload?
Moira dead. Break shield.
Alright.
Someone up top. Farah.
It's a stationary target. You at least want to be aiming at her head. Did you even touch the payload? Glowy boy mode activated.
Drop your shield.
Hey, we contested it!
Ryan behind
Nice
is going
try.
for
For
shadow.
3 seconds.
Soldier left. He's low.
Yeah,
He's
soldier.
discorded.
So we are contesting it here. Okay. So it wasn't as
Discord
bad
Diva.
as I thought. But it was pretty bad.
Need some healing?
So you contested it for a couple seconds. And then they're going to get second for free. And this reminds me of a tournament game that we played in.
Don't go in.
And that, so I played in the MSI Dragon Cup back when I wasn't shit at the game in December of last year. And it was a Canadian Invitational online. So teams from Ontario, Quebec, all these guys formed teams. And we ended up winning this. But I believe it was in the semifinals. We played on Dorado. And we were going against a team that had a really good DPS player. He was it Voyle? I think it was Voyle. And we were really struggling against him. But on Dorado second, what we did is that we aggressively took fights. Very, very aggressively. And then on Dorado second, when we were defending, we got 6 team fights. So 6 team fights on Dorado second, we lost. But because we kept fighting very early and then dying on the payload, resetting, re-engaging, it took them quite a few one-team fights to get through a single point of Dorado. And then on our attack on Dorado, I think we only took 1 team fight. And this wasn't really a team fight. It was just kind of like you attempted to contest the payload and then you all just got fucked and rolled over here. But so if you think about that, if we just like look at the second point of that tournament in like a vacuum or something, my team had like a sub 20% fight win rate. We didn't win many team fights, but we have made the opponent fight for each and every single inch of the payload. So the only time you want to give the opponent this much distance on the payload is if you're giving them distance in order to take an extremely fortified or beneficial location. And then when the payload gets to you, just a huge advantage for you to be holding at that location, which is why normally on things like Dorado first, you don't really hold at red, you hold at choke, because that you're giving up the initial payload distance in order to get a very dramatic map advantage based on geometry, cover, health packs, what have you. But in areas, especially on Route 66, where there are no hard to find choke points, and there's a couple choke points that people actually do not realize are choke points in the game. No matter where the opponent attacks, they have to go through one of those tiny 4 fucking doors. And if you're on the spaceship, you can see all 4 of them, and it doesn't matter. So this is, again, one of the harder chokes. If the defenders, instead of, this one is one that you don't see that often, because if the defenders get staggered at all, they respawn out that door, have to walk through, and then retreat, and they're probably going to get staggered, and the payload is going to end up about here before the defenders can actually, like, regroup. But if the defenders don't get staggered and they fight early and then take position on ship, you can hold these 4 doors really easily. Really easily. Especially if you have a hit scan or a Hanzo or something like that. Like, no change in position, boom. You can pressure all of those doors. You could have, like, a Winston or something using the high ground and the boxes. This is a nasty choke to get caught in. It can be a pain in the ass to break. So it is so important, the transition between first and second point Gibraltar, to make sure that the defenders have no chance of an early engagement, because it's super strong. There's been times, I actually remember we did this in a tournament once. We actually did this in a tournament where both teams only had 60 seconds, and we had made it to second. And I think that we had put our payload right here. So our payload was right here. And it was actually hilarious what we decided to do during a tournament was we gave up first point, and then because the opponent only had 60 seconds, we got a Bastion and Orisa right here. We put a Bastion and Orisa right here. So the opponents capped first and then just got fucking stonewalled right here, and we beat them in overtime. So I think we did this at a LAN, but yeah, we just gave them first because we knew that they'd arrive here with only like 20 seconds left. And then, yeah, just won one team fight with Bastion because we were on the high ground. Nobody had ultimates, and they couldn't contest us on this high ground. It was GG. It was a pretty funny way to win a tournament. It's just, like, you got to be kind of aware of... A lot of people don't put much thought into the time it takes to payloads to actually, like, clear checkpoints or anything like this. 10 seconds for doors to open, and then once the payload through, the doors close. So both attackers and defenders can abuse this. Attackers can defend this because they can't move the payload for 10 seconds, so they can move forward. It's a gifted sub. And then defenders can abuse it by taking a really early engagement after the doors have closed. So, and there's some that the doors don't close on. Like Eichenwald was actually so hard of a pseudo choke that they actually changed the map. So Eichenwald third, you know when the doors open or get broken by the battering ram and then they crumple behind? Old Eichenwald, the doors used to close. The doors used to close after you moved the payload through Eichenwald, and it was considered so powerful that they nerfed Eichenwald third. Yeah, yes, so these doors, they would open and then they would close again. And then, like, look at this. So you could go through, like, this tiny fuck-off window or through each one of these 2 little doorways. So this is such a shitty pseudo-choke. This now crumples and leaves it open. When we're looking at Route 66 in particular, you lost one team fight and you lost second. Where Route 66, if you had taken an early fight trying to stomp them out by the choke, you could have taken... maybe, depending on your regrouping, and if you had a Lucio, a second by bridge, and then a third recontest, maybe. Like, it's hard on Route 66 to get 3, but at the very least, 3 is likely, 2 is guaranteed. So, just picking to hard commit on a fight, because the chance, even if the chance of you winning a fight is like 40%, if you have like 3 chances... if you have 3 40% chances, it's still better than 1 60% chance of winning. So, take more fights unless there is a huge advantage to holding in a specific location and giving them distance until they arrive at your fortified location. That's the lesson.
Don't go in. Just group up.
What is the best way to rank up easily? Win games.
McCree, maybe I can combo with you. Oh, yeah, Tracer good.
Low effort questions get low effort answers.
For ult faster. Maybe Tracer.
Soldier right side is discorded. Soldier lawn. Nice, nice. Discord soldier.
Nice pick.
You do get a Twitch Prime sub every month, yes. You actually get this mug at
Discord Diva, she's
7-Eleven,
low.
believe it or not.
I have my ult. Tracer, do you have yours?
What is the best way to win games as Doomfist?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Or sorry, rank up as Doomfist? You win games as
Discord
Doomfist.
Ryan
Not a
top.
good opportunity yet.
Nah,
Alright.
we won this anyway. Mars half on the back.
Run.
So your positioning has changed very dramatically. At first, I thought you were like an aggressive Zen, not a flank Yata. At second, I thought you were kind of like a scaredy Zen. And here you're taking really long sightlines and paying very like a more conservative or a passive Zenyatta. So either you have no fucking idea what you're doing with your positioning, or you haven't decided on a personal playstyle yet, which is possible.
Get Ryan.
Some
take away.
people don't have like signatures or play styles or anything like that. Signatures apply more to teams. So, you know, Goat's signature is aggressive 3-3. Dallas's signature is really well executed anti-dive with Ryan Zarya and then either Kree or Widow. And they use rotations and scouting. That's like kind of how Dallas likes to play. You know, each team has their signature. It's like a play style, but for a team. And then you can have 100 people play Zenyatta, but 100 people will play them differently. Some people will be more comfortable, or you know, just enjoy one part of his kit more. And maybe if you aren't as powerful or competent with his mechanics, you'll prefer a more like tactical shot calling, really high impact ult play style with Zenyatta. But if you haven't kind of like taken the characters to the extremes and see what works, what doesn't, you'll never really develop a playstyle that you can really start refining and working on your kit. But it's just, there's so many conflicting positions and actions here. It just kind of feels like that you're unsure of your actions or not thinking about which one you're wanting to do. Selfless, signature spawn camping, right? Rogue, triple dive, triple DPS dive. I main Ryan, and my playstyle is to be absolutely aggressive. That is a legitimate playstyle. WM1 Ryan is a legitimate playstyle. Coco's playstyle of being much more passive and protecting his team so that his superstar DPS could pop off. That's his playstyle. Not a good playstyle for the current meta, but that was Coco's legitimate playstyle, is kind of assisting the superstars of Envious to pop off and just keep them alive, and you know, keep them alive and allow them to do the work, making the space, not trying to have a solo impact himself. XQC, very much an individual who wants to solo carry. Everyone has their playstyles. The pros do not play, like Muma is probably the flankiest Winston in the league. Muma flanks on Winston like crazy. He also does a whole bunch of other stuff. It's not like the only thing Muma does is flank, but Muma flanks more on Winston than I think any other Winston I've watched at the pro level. Each player has their own little signature to it. I haven't watched much Giannis.
He's asleep.
Get Diva.
Discord
She's
Diva.
alone.
And honestly, this isn't like the worst position to be in Zenyatta. Your Harmony and your Discord Orb is extremely powerful, especially at the lower elos. You know, you can be like, oh, there's a 1v1 happening here. I'm going to give my ally Harmony and their opponent Discord. Oh, there's a 1v1 happening here. I'm going to give my Ryan Harmony the opposing Ryan Discord. And you can influence so many different like 1v1s from 40 meters away. You can just be like, a puppeteer from long range be like, you are going to win this 1v1, and you're going to win that 1v1. And like the trade-off of being basically like guaranteed and being able to meticulously place your orbs based on seeing the situation is that you're far enough away that you can't like really have high impact destruction orbs, which is fine. It's just you have to decide the trade-off between positioning and playstyle on Zenyatta. And it's just, I'm surprised to see, now we haven't seen much footage, but 3 distinct positions that would imply different playstyles off of a single defense.
D.Va half.
Discord Ryan.
Harmony Discord, right? You're influencing that 1v1. And this is a very powerful playstyle, especially at the low reels. Doing this is usually enough to win games or influence them over the course of history. And especially if you are this kind of Zenyatta player, you should be shot calling because you can see the entire field. That, good, right. I will call that a good trance. You had no position to cover yourself. It was a flank. You used it to actually punish the soldier himself. And if he had killed you, he would have been in a good position to kill the rest of your team because the Reinhardt was forward. Good trance.
D.Va would be nice.
D.Va's left side, she's 1.
Like, of course, I would have preferred you not get flanked in the first place, but...
There's 175 health pack.
Pedantics.
She's not gonna heal
Semantics.
much.
Is it pedantics or semantics? Semantics, right?
She's getting pocketed by Zen.
I'm being pedantic. It's semantics? How did those words
That's
work?
what?
Nice. Great job,
Discord
guys.
Ryan.
You've also got pretty good charge rate on your Transcendence. Your Ana's suicidal. That's unfortunate.
Discord Ryan.
I grabbed.
Yes, you did, Zarya. Good job.
Discord on Soldier.
Harmony of your Rhine. Good.
Oh, big
Soldier
shadow.
behind. Soldier 1.
So there's, How do I want to say this?
Ryan. Discord Ryan.
I grabbed.
I grabbed.
Make something happen.
Make something
Discord on
happen.
Soldier.
Oh, big
Soldier
shadow.
behind.
So this soldier engagement.
Soldier 1.
Now, I understand that you got booped by the,
Come on, come on, come on.
I understand that you got booped by
Down point,
the
down point.
D.Va into the soldier here. And now you're on Moira.
Soul more. We need more soul.
D.Va.
D.Va 1, D.Va 1. D.Va out of mech.
D.Va. Ryan. Nice work, nice work.
Good job, guys.
I'm just gonna watch just a little bit more because you are switching.
Get this.
So I'm not sure how much of this is actions based off of just overtime, and are you gonna stay on Moira?
Soldier behind.
Don't know this yet. Good healing orb. Not sure if you needed to fade
head
there.
back a
So
little bit.
fade is like a life-saving ability, and especially since they remove the ability for people to actually like kind of tell where you're going. It used to be that fade kind of would indicate the direction you're traveling after you fade, but as long as you don't like walk, like press A, fade, and then keep going A, people don't always know where you're gonna fade back into existence, basically, other than the kind of the noise it makes. So it really can disorient people. And yes, it's mobility, but it's mobility in the same way that Genji's Swift Strike is mobility. So like you can use it to get forward or something like that, but you know, anytime I was playing in a game against Sinatra, and just like coming out of spawn, trying to return to the fight as early as possible, you know, it's the same thing that if you like respawn on McCree, it's just little mobility is better than no mobility. Yeah, I'd fade right out of spawn just to kind of get some mobility, and then I'd get either one clipped or lose a duel to Sinatra because I had used my fade just to try and get back to the team fight instead of saving it in case I did actually need it. So it can be used as mobility, but you want to only use it as mobility in terms of like a last resort sort of thing.
This is.
Get
way
back,
too
get back.
far in.
I have
Get baby D.Va.
coalescence.
Hey Afro, good to see you around still. How you been? not
Genji
sure if
top
the
right.
like I don't want to nitpick every single orb choice and
They use
whatnot.
strands.
Like just critiquing this should have been damage, this should have been heal.
I
Genji one,
nearly have
Genji
grab.
one.
I usually only, you had fade,
Nice, nice.
so you had fade that entire time and escaping. But I don't like to like nitpick or be like Captain Hindsight or anything and be like, you used this orb, it was damage, it could have been 3 degrees to the left, or it should have been healing here. Like that's a pretty low level sort of mistake sort of thing. So if we see an ongoing issue with orb usage or something, we can go from there. But until I kind of like see your mentality when it comes to using orbs and cooldowns like that, I don't like to comment on micro mistakes. But having your fade up and dying to Genji isn't really something that should happen. Your fade can kite, and then after that, if he doesn't have his dash, he can't do anything about it except slowly die to your purple fingers. So, I was doing pretty well, but people insist on clipping me out of context, so.
Grab health packs.
Make something happen. Big grab, big grab.
Nice, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
holy shit, Genji. Get Zed, one. You get Diva. Get Diva, guys.
Nice work, nice work. Tracer, tracer. Tracer right side. I've got coalescence. Tracer, tracer.
Nice, nice pick.
Heal me, heal me.
Oh no.
I'm killing Dave in the.
It should be fine, though, still.
Nice, nice.
Well, let's watch this again, since it is the overtime fight, I guess. There's not a lot exciting happening here at the moment.
Tracer, tracer.
Nice, nice pick.
Little
Heal me,
flank
heal me.
hammer. Could you have done anything about that?
Tracer right side.
Where did that Rhine come here, and why was he not scouted?
I've got coalescence.
No one scouted him.
Tracer.
Interesting.
Nice, nice pick.
Heal me, heal me.
Oh no.
I'm
Okay.
killing Dave in the.
From what I could tell, there wasn't much way you could have avoided that without having it scouted first.
Nice, nice.
Okay, so
Don't
coming
have any
back.
healers, I'm coming.
They'd get back to the fight.
We need help, we need help.
Good. Healing orb into coalescence. It's pretty decent.
Stall, guys, stall.
Okay.
No.
Come on,
Oh,
come on.
I don't know what happened with those Reinhardts there. Okay.
Okay. We
Hopefully
got
you
a
play
tight
Moira
two,
on the
that's
attack so we can see a little bit more.
yeah.
Okay. Moira Zen, not like solo queue. It's as long as your Zen doesn't need like a lot of protection, this is okay. The Hanzo and the Genji, one flanker, not
That's
gonna be able to
good.
assist him. So we are back on the Zenyatta instead of the Moira. Okay. I do like the or the Harmony Orb placement
Behind,
on the Genji
careful, I
since he's
think
going to
I
be
heard
solo
something.
flanking. Normally, of course, you'd want that on the main tank just to help him during the early stages until you know who it needs to be on. But I did like the initial placement on the flanker.
Behind,
Hey,
Tracer.
like 10
You
trillion
knew
people
something was
behind
up.
you.
But yeah, so when they are running,
no.
even like one flanker can be challenging. Two flankers is going to be a bit of a problem. But Moira really, really sucks
shit.
at peeling for a Zenyatta. Really badly.
Alright, come back, group.
Span this turd to review Burb. No. But, so when we're talking about why and how you're actually going to protect Zenyatta, why, of course, but how you're going to protect him, Mercy is good because it's an instantaneous beam that cannot be interrupted. And unless I'm crazy, the recent patch note says that Moira is no longer going to be able to heal through barriers, which is good. It's probably a good thing.
Winston,
Especially if
Winston,
Anna's
just
like Anna's
good.
the
Top left.
the only healer that can really be blocked too badly
Just go
by that.
Tracer.
But Mercy's healing instantaneous. You know, even Anna's a little bit better because she can threaten the flanker a lot more with the sleep dart or the anti-nade or anything like that. But Moira, first of all, she has limited range, and then her spray is also like it's a projectile cloud, so it takes time to get to the target, and also if the target gets kind of booped, then you need to keep it on it. So even if your target goes out of line of sight, gets punched away from you, Mercy's beam will stay connected and stay healing, whereas Moira's spray is a lot less consistent in terms of healing a Zenyatta. And especially since the Zenyatta and the Moira want to be playing so differently. Like, Zenyatta is going to be playing farther back, keeping his orbs, working on sight lines for himself, whereas the Moira wants to be really up close to the tanks so that she can keep them healed, keep them aggressive, maybe look for opportunities to, you know, get a cheeky right-click kill or a damage orb on a support or something like that. So they play very differently. But, and the other thing is that, like, Lucio, for example, doesn't heal Zenyatta based off of, or doesn't peel for Zenyatta and keep him alive based off of Lucio's healing output. Lucio's amped speed is, like, speed alone and boop creates space and allows Zenyatta to kite away from whatever's attacking him. Like, if it's a Winston that jumps on the Zenyatta and the Lucio just amps speed and gets out of there, the Winston is suddenly out of range of the Zenyatta and can probably avoid the landing damage as well. So you got to think about, on Zenyatta, especially in solo queue, people aren't going to keep you alive. You have to keep yourself alive, and you're either going to have to stick closer to people who can help you or just kind of put up with being murdered repeatedly.
Ryan's coming down.
He heals.
Discord Winston.
So your Harmony's still on your Genji. Well, there, you finally put it back on your Reinhardt.
Break shield. Winston. Discord Tracer, right side.
Shadow.
So if you are going to be calling, like, Discord on Tracer and things, like, yes, you have Discord on Tracer, but she's not, like, actively killing you.
McCree's one.
No.
Or unless she's going to hunt you
Ryan,
down.
you're gonna
But there's
die.
also really nobody else that can follow up on your Discord call there. So if you are going to be Discord calling for a very immobile
Discord
front
on
line,
Ryan.
then what you want to be doing
Two
is
shadows in, like, 5
McCree.
seconds.
you want to be calling
That's
targets
right,
in which
that's right.
your team can actually follow up on.
Ryan, you fucking go.
In the same way that in, like, the middle of a fight, when you're using, like, a
What,
Brigitte
accident?
comp or something, or a Reinhardt comp, in the middle of a brawl with those compositions, it's either the Brigitte or the Reinhardt who are going to be target calling because they are the least mobile.
Winston.
And it's more important for your targets, like your team, to be focused on the same target than for you to be calling the theoretically most optimal target. So
Winston one,
you
Winston
have a
one
Ryan
as
and a
well.
Zarya. Neither really have that much mobility.
I have
So if you
tanks.
are going to be putting Discords, focus on putting Discords on the things that you can actually assist the Reinhardt and the Zarya in attacking, not what you can attack.
Winston behind.
Because there is, even if they do try to get that Tracer that you discorded, it's going to be pretty difficult, and there's going to be quite a bit of time before they can actually get onto that target.
That was
Nice,
a lot
nice.
of
And you saw there, right? The Moira was trying to heal you, and you still died. This is a good example.
Just grab.
Yearly.
You have it.
So you get, you're down to 31. The Moira's trying her best,
Tracer
Brigitte
Discord
one.
behind.
Yeah, good job.
and you still die. So yeah, Moira is not very good for
Tracer
healing
behind.
Zen.
Nice.
Yeah,
Come on,
Moira
come
one.
on.
Moira one.
Let's get it.
Oh,
Moira.
I got shitty spawn.
Yeah, good job.
Monkey still.
cheater Hanzo. Accusations already coming out.
What on earth was that postpone?
It's like you can't really blame the Moira for missing. Like she can't steer the
Break shield, break shield.
the healing from Moira any more
Winston, he's
accurately
one.
than it is.
that
Right,
was
projectile
pretty
cloud.
Discord Ryan, he's one.
So compared to
Winston.
Mercy's beam, it's very inaccurate.
What the hell is that Winston doing?
Oh, you
They're
missed.
all a bit
That's
stagnant.
unfortunate.
Nice job.
Why is Mercy better at healing Zen than when Mercy does 60 HPS less than Moira? I've just been going over it. So Moira might have better theoretical healing, but it's a lot harder for her to actually apply it. And they want to play in different positions, whereas Mercy and Zenyatta normally want to play in the same positions to begin with. Like Moira wants to be really up close to tanks, whereas Zenyatta does not want to be. So even if the Moira was in range, or even if they're at max range, the heals are going to be inconsistent and time delayed and interruptible.
Hanzo hacking, are you serious?
Discord
Just
Bridget.
grab.
We can combo. Sorry.
Careful of shadow.
Alright, Hans.
So this is like,
Tracer behind.
this is good positioning, right? It's better positioning. It's not, this is probably the best position you've been in. You've got good sight lines so that you can actually apply orbs onto things. You've got cover and you have some sort of retreat. Now, the retreat itself, they have a tracer, right? But the route behind you is high ground, and the tracer can't use that to flank you. So I'm not sure if you did this on purpose, but in order for the tracer to get onto the high ground behind you, she either needs to go through caves or this long-ass flank that goes all the way back to, like, your spawn, or invest blinks to cross the gap from the high ground on the middle saloon. So this is a good position. Good cover, good sight lines, can't be flanked easily. So I like this position here. It's probably one of your better ones.
It's good.
No, not yet, not yet.
Res and damage boost are
Yeah.
both just extremely
Yeah,
difficult to
thank you.
balance in any game.
Hanzo,
Discord
quickly,
Winston.
quickly. Go, 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 go.
Discord Moira.
And if you are going to be doing Discord calls like this, at least give locations. Moira can be a slippery individual. You know, like Discord on Reinhardt, most people know where the Reinhardt is because he's giant and he's holding a giant blue rectangle. But if you're going to be doing like Discord Moiras or Discord, you know, Widowmakers or something like that, people who don't have obvious locations, always just drop a location information. It was one of the like key deciding factors. If we had two evenly matched dive teams going after one another, one of the major deciding factors in which team actually won the fight was who could switch between targets faster. So if you killed one target and then the next call was Lucio, for example, the team that won was normally the team that had the communication in place to figure out where the Lucio was, and like that was basically it. Communicate where the Lucio is, what the next target is, and then very quickly attack and kill that target. Whereas if you call just Lucio and nobody has any idea where that fucking green frog is, there's going to be a time lag before people can actually start contributing to that kill. So just the littlest bit of positioning information, like right side, you don't even have to say, like right side is implied based on the position of the cart and the perspective from you're coming from. So just add a little bit of positioning information to your calls.
Thank you, Mercy.
It's all
Sorry,
Logan
Mara.
now. Fall
Finally,
back.
someone ready to write.
Discord won't normally be
What
enough to
people
keep
read
Azaria
out?
pressured, especially since she can cleanse Discord with her personal bubble, and she'll be playing behind Reinhardt and Brigitte, so landing that Discord through 2 shields is going to be challenging.
Discord Bridget. I have
Ryan,
trance if we
make
need it.
things happen. Oh, okay, Genji, make things happen. Hell yeah.
Do you actually
Okay.
lose this game? Because your
Discord Ryan.
Genji's carrying pretty hard.
Nice, nice.
Rindo Shadow.
Wait, what did you say your name was? Hanzo?
A Loger now.
Or Logan now. A
Discord
Logan.
Tracer.
A Logan. It's all Logan now. Yeah, nice job. Roadhog, no hook.
Break shield, break shield.
So, like, one of the things about your playstyle is you're pretty conservative in terms of like your positioning, and there's a lot of like long range right clicks. You do a little bit of calming, but I think you really need to kind of like find your strength and really develop that part of your gameplay. So if you are going to be doing this more like passive conservative Zenyatta play, first of all, I'd like you to be using some sort of different angles, whether it's just like a little bit of high ground or a little bit better positioning so that you can still provide more value from these conservative locations. But then you want to be taking a lot more control of your team as a Zenyatta. Zenyatta and main tanks are two of like the positions that I really like to hear a lot of comms from. And when we're looking at like the end of this second point on Route 66, right here, for example, this is really pretty decent positioning. Again, with the things that can actually attack you, Tracer is going to have to either invest resources to cross the gap. Moira is going to have to fade at you. You might be in the sight line of the Hanzo or something like that, but the Junkrat can't do much unless you very aggressively conk mines at you. The Brig and the Rhine can't do much, but high ground, good sight lines, and you have complete visibility over the entire field. So here, if we turn up the comms,
Discord Bridget.
Discord Bridget.
I have trance
Ryan,
if we
make
need it.
things happen.
Okay, like I have trance if you need it. Does that call actually really dictate what anybody else on your team does? Not really. You have like maybe if they had grav, you could be like, that's fine. Just, don't worry about grav. I'll just trance it, and we can focus on something other than Zarya, maybe, I guess. But trance is like a response to something. But here you have like perfect vision over the fight. And if we're talking about like this Genji or your Reinhardt or something like that, they're very tunnel visioned, or there's a lot of visual effects going on, and they don't individually have any way to know how the fight is going on. So you need to be basically an air traffic controller here, kind of herding the cats into killing the same targets and the right targets as quickly as possible.
Oh, okay. Genji.
So this is like whenever I see this, I see like people kind of like moving their crosshair around and not doing anything. This usually means that they're looking around to gather information. So you see a whole bunch of people doing different things. You see the Rhine on the left, you see the Genji on the right,
You make things
and
happen.
you can't decide what to do. So you kind of just like hold a right click until your Genji frags and wins the game. But here, if you saw that either your Rhine was on the left side and he was immobile, then we could say, start calling whatever the Rhine is attacking. Or the Genji's about to frag out and he needs the assistance. So we could say, help Genji, Discord on, whatever the Genji's attacking and help him out. But you're in a perfect location to herd the sheep of your team and make them just slightly less dumb. You don't have to be 200 IQ to win a game. You can try and like solo carry that way. But if you just make everyone on your team maybe just like 10 IQ smarter by giving them more information from this advanced territory, you're basically giving each and every single one of the players on your team like eyes on the back of their head. They don't have to check their six. They don't have to, look around and find the optimal target. You are providing that information to them. And you can really sway games with just your voice in these sort of situations. And if this is a playstyle that sounds fascinating to you, then these are the positions you need to be in. Like the right clicks aren't as useful from this angle, but yeah, this is a play style, and I think it would benefit you to do that sort of thing.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
I got pinned. Goodbye.
Discord Ryan.
good to see you,
Nice,
Judas
nice.
Toast.
Rindo Shadow.
Wait, what did you say your name was? Hanzo?
A Loger now.
All Logan now. A
Discord
Logan.
Tracer.
A Logan. It's all Logan now. Yeah, nice job. Roadhog, no hook.
So like good little call outs.
Break shield, break shield.
You need more big picture stuff.
They're trying to get that armor, man.
Discord Ryan.
Get
Discord
back, Ryan.
Moira.
Before you die.
Moira 1.
Nice shots.
Moira dead.
Yeah, holy shit. Is that Jonah?
Discord.
Right click.
No.
Up
champion.
behind, he's no hook.
Yeah, let's go.
Why are we
That
high?
is-
I must have missed something.
Get this,
Discord Hog, he's the one.
On the right. So you definitely
Yeah,
need more
Lucio down, Lucio
positional
down.
call outs in your calls.
here we
Hog
go,
one.
Hog just healed.
Fair enough.
Fire in the hole.
Keep going, keep going. We got
Snaps.
this.
Go, 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 go. We
Discord
could
Farah.
always reset, but, we probably were gonna win this fight, so.
Zarya has a lot of unnecessary
Let's go,
comms. It's
Lucio.
annoying me, but you played this end of the,
Let's
like
go,
the end of the
Mara.
point pretty well. Like the one thing that I'm gonna get annoyed by, and this is kind of like this is a very very common mistake. Does anyone like really just see the mistake here? What is the mistake right now? He's out in the open. He's out in the open. And these are sort of like, these are mistakes that aren't going to be punished at your elo. But these are going to be habits that are going to hit you in the face like a freight train once this starts becoming an issue for you. So this sort of positioning won't get punished in gold. It won't get punished in platinum either. You do this in Grandmaster, you're dead before you know what happens. You have no cover here. And if you do want to take cover once you start taking fire, not only have you already started taking damage, but you're going to be moving in straight lines until you get to cover, which means that you're going to be an easy target. You have no health packs that you can easily retreat onto. You're not in a position where any allies can assist you because Moira is up front. So, like these are the sort of mistakes that we see in gold and are very, very rarely punished in gold. But if you want to climb, you need to, like, if you want to make it to diamond, You can't do what works in gold. You have to do what works in diamond while you're in gold. So, when we're talking about like, Wizards' entire like hour-long segment about cover and whatnot, you're the exact kind of person that he was talking about. You don't put thought into position and cover and whatnot. So one of the things that Wizard was talking about is that he just had a person basically never leave a wall.